Welcome to Spinner Rack. This is, I would say, the first official Patreon project for Secret Friends Unite. This is all about comic books. So Charlie and I have said we're going to read more comic books in 2023. This is how we do it. We actually made a Patreon exclusive show that will talk about a comic book, a storyline, an event, a character, or something that's specific to comic books, and we're going to do that. We may have guests, who knows? But for this episode, and you can read along if you have the ComiXology app.
Please bounce along.
Exactly.
Boink, boink, boink.
And that's our intent, is to get comics that people can read too. Not just like you have to go to your comic book shop and get. While that's important, I think it's good for people to check out a comic in a way that's affordable to check it out.
True.
So ComiXology Unlimited is through Amazon. It's like $6 a month, and you get comics from almost every publisher. So I had heard great things about a specific comic, and I said, hey, Charlie, you want to try this one out? And we both agreed. And that comic this week is called Parker the Hunter.
Oh, my God. I just have to read this because I clicked on the link just to let you know who Parker is. Parker was the name of my late son. So, I mean, it was kind of doing like, oh, I really kind of love that until I figured out who Parker was in this comic. I just love this encapsulation. A ruthless career criminal, Parker has almost no traditional redeeming qualities aside from efficiency and professionalism, callous, meticulous, perfectly willing to commit murder if he deems it necessary.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is a series based on this particular comic by Darwin Cooke. He wrote this in July 2009. This is essentially him doing his own adaptation of the first Parker book called The Hunter. There's like 40-ish books in the Parker series by Richard Stark, who actually, that's not even his real name. Richard Stark was a pen name written by another author. And, by Donald Westlake. So basically, he just decided, it's like Stephen King doing Richard Bachman. Very similar here. This was launched in the 60s, and Darwin Cooke, and this is basically very noir, crime, that type of thing. And Darwin Cooke, he's just a big fan of doing kind of this noir look. He's done some great comics. He started off in animation. He is known for doing some classic comics. He did a series of The Spirit. He did then Justice League New Frontier, which was one of the best graphic novels I've ever read about kind of the beginning of the Justice League with this really cool kind of throwback 50s art style. And he's well renowned for doing this type of very succinct, very clear illustrations. He's kind of like no nonsense, very quick to the point. We're going on, and his illustrations are almost cartoonish in a way, but they kind of subvert the fact that a lot of his material is very adult or serious. So this what we read was about 140 pages long, essentially 4 books, so 4 issues, essentially encapsulating the story of Parker. It's essentially a revenge tale.
Yes, good Lord. It's cold-blooded and calculated, and just the swath of bodies that Parker has to cut through to get what he's after. Because, he's a career criminal. He has a very specific code about, working with, he'll work with a group of people, but he'll never work with a group of people twice. And he always gets this thing and that thing. But he has, these same proclivities. He always has a weakness. He has a wife. He has a wife, and one of these jobs that he gets hooked up with, his wife is manipulated into turning on him, and that's really where the story takes it. It's not where it starts, but where it takes its thrust.
Yeah, and it's where it kicks off. That was the surprising part to me. And by the way, there'll be spoilers as we tell the story, but I don't think that's a reason not to listen to us talk about it. Yeah. Because a lot of things, what happened in our impressions, we want you to read the book too, and and agree, disagree. What do you think about this? Because this book starts out strong. I'm like, why is he doing these horrible things to people? Right. And then you kind of find out why, and what motivates him. And kind of has like you said, he's a criminal that he only basically. He's kind of lives by a criminal code, but he's not a good guy. He will.
Oh God, no! Beyond.
Yeah, and he even says like, "I don't like killing," but he's very good at it.
Right. Well, yeah, it's just like, as evidenced by there's the one scene he's stalking out the apartment building where the guy is that he's got to kill him. There's a dress shop across the street and he needs to hide out there. But, the seamstress is there and, she's trying to get rid of him or he needs to get rid of her and he socks her and accidentally kills her. And he's like, whoops. Didn't mean to do that. I'll shove her under the counter or something. Just really a bad bloke. He's not a good guy. Because again, it's just all about what he needs to accomplish, which this has to do with, as I mentioned, he had a wife and there was a scheme and he took her along and they were splitting a purse of, $200,000 or something. I don't remember the math.
About $90,000 they're splitting 4 ways.
Right, exactly. And the main guy he was working with is a dude named Malcolm or Mal, who owed $80,000 to the mob.
The organization.
The organization, the Magia. He owed it to the Magia. So what Mal basically manipulated, including his wife, whose name Parker's wife, whose name I'm forgetting. I don't know, you remember? It's not in here.
Wasn't Liz? Lana? No.
I don't know. You know what? If it's not
Lane?
It
rhymes with a female's body part. Oh,
Chair. We're just going to call her Chair.
Chair.
His wife, Chair. He tricks her into betraying Parker, and she shoots him, but not fatally. And then they set the house on fire. Mal kills all the other guys and escapes with Chair, and they end up in New York City. And Mal's going about his life. He takes the $80,000 and he pays it back to the Magia. But eventually, while Parker's escaping the burning house, he gets arrested. He spends a few years in jail, which makes him more pissed off. And then he's finally works his way back to New York to enact his revenge. But Chair, he finds his wife Chair, but she's abusing drugs and she ODs after he's been staying there for a while. So she's kind of out of the plot line. But he's going through a series of connections and hookers and drug dealers and mob people to finally get to Mal, and he chokes him out naked in his sleep. Wow. Sorry. Oh, spoilers. Wait, we already said spoilers, right?
We said spoilers. Yeah. And the whole point is, this book, I think, is a really good look back to say Darwin Cooke, I think he just said, I'm going to recreate this book, storyboards. He's a vision, because I don't think this has ever been like a film or a TV series. So to think about taking a book and then saying, I'm going to recreate what Parker, I envision he looks, because he's described as being like a man with big hands and can do work. And he says, I don't need a weapon. I've got these, as he tells the one guy who's like, oh, crap. And they use a lot of the terms of the time. So like, one of the things they mentioned a type of gun, which they said police something. And I'm like, what is that even? I had to look it up. It's a type of police gun. They also mentioned I got picked up for vaguey. And I'm like, what does that even mean? For vagrancy, essentially. Charlie, you're muted.
A police special is like a 38, right?
It wasn't a police special. It's just something else. It was like a different name. Like,
vaguey.
I don't know what that is. Yeah. But
Todd, you're being a little vaguey about that.
Apparently, I'm like, what does this even mean? So I'd look up a few things because it is of the time, which I appreciate, because I'm like, that made it feel kind of cool. It felt like it was of the 50s, 60s era, because this was written in like 1962.
Yeah, 1962.
Exactly. And that was also part of the way women were treated. Man, oh man.
Slapping them around.
Holy crap. I mean, and Parker obviously didn't care, man, woman, whatever.
Right.
I don't suffer fools. I need to get where I'm going, and nothing will stand in my way. And that was where it kind of reminded me of Reacher, except Reacher has has like a code of not like being the worst guy in the world. Parker's
Reacher seemed okay. You didn't see him slapping women around, but Parker, and it was funny, even in the summary that I read at the beginning, he was like, well, he has no ostensibly redeemable qualities. And I'm like, I don't really think there's anything redeemable about this guy. He's smacking people around. He's, doing one punch killing an innocent woman and being like, well, I guess I better find my way out of here or something, because this is going to keep me from moving forward with my revenge, which is the only thing that's on his radar. So it's weird to read a story where your primary character is not only not a protagonist, but really somebody that you just hope is going to somebody's going to catch up with him and put a round in his head, because you're like, oh boy, he got, because he's a bad guy trying to get his just desserts on another bad guy, and his wife was not a great gal, and then you see her OD. And again, this is adapted from a work from back in the 60s, and it's very racy for back then, but clearly it was very noir, it was very pulpy, it was something that was also set in the, the nitty gritty of the New York City, the naked city as categorized by a song by Jackie Wilson, where there's just everything, bad is happening all the time, and nothing is as it seems, and everything's about coke and hookers and drinking and just guns and death. And I think that this accomplished all those things. So yeah, I was shocked. I read this week when you were like, yeah, we got to try to get through this. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I was worried that you weren't going to like it, because I was like, we could pick something shorter. But you're like, I just finished. I'm like, oh great.
I was traveling. I was staying in a hotel. I went out to dinner. I'm sitting at a table by myself, and I brought my tablet with me, and I'm just flipping through things. I'm like, oh my God, I just was sucked right in. It was very engrossing. It's very word heavy. Well, Parker's describing kind of how he does and why he does it, and how he was betrayed and what his big plan was. I was sucked right in. I would highly, highly recommend this as something that is most definitely an alternative to the capes and cowls, as you said, of the Marvel and the DC. Definitely a step in a different direction, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, it's funny because it does say in like the caption here from Wikipedia even says like, it's the story of a man who hits New York head on like a shotgun blasted. And that's exactly what this is. It just, you're all in. It's like nonstop. And there is some verbose portions, but a lot of it is just like, here it's very limited sometimes in its storytelling through just the what you see on the page, and sometimes it doesn't do a whole lot. It just does enough, which is great. And that was one thing I want to ask you, Charlie, about the art style. You're not as familiar with Darwin Cooke, but what'd you think? Because it's only colored in like white, blue, and black. It's not like multicolor.
Really a lot like watercolor, or certainly like an old black and white film. This was really a black and white comic, but not really but like I said, it felt more like a painting in passing, as opposed to something truly black and white like The Walking Dead. And again, it was very loose. I mean, you can even really see it on the cover of where things are just very sketchy, and almost like his world so detached from the reality of what anybody you would ever know or hope to know would never do the things that he would do. And it almost feels like the art style itself is so ethereal that it suspends that, it kind of pushes that reality even further away. I appreciated it.
Yeah, it's definitely, and that's what Darwin Cooke, his work is unique. When you see it, you're like, that's Darwin Cooke, which is great. I always love people that can make their art their own versus somebody, we've always talked about like the Marvel artists of like the 70s. They all kind of look, nobody stood out because they're all trying to carry consistent, which I get it. That's what Marvel wanted to do. They had the Marvel way, and they had Marvel books that told you how to illustrate, because Jack Kirby kind of set the stage for that, and we like the
Marvel way,
and we got to kill Jack Kirby off because he wants money, but
money,
exactly. But this one, I felt like it was a good mix of, it looked of the time, but you're kind of almost betrayed how simple the characters looked versus the deeds they did, right? It's like, I don't expect characters like this to do horrible things to each other. Yeah. Or be of an adult nature. So, Darwin Cooke's great. Just the Justice League New Frontier, I think, is a great series. Maybe we'll revisit it in future episodes. But I think this is a good kickoff. And Charlie, you get the next pick. So from a ComiXology, Marvel, or DC that we have those services, you'll have the next pick. So I won't put you on the spot, but we'll be back probably next episode with that. But folks, I hope you like this. This is something we're trying to do with Patreon. Bring you new content you don't always get. Let us know what you think, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
Good deal. Awesome. We look forward to seeing everybody next time. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for signing up to Patreon. Couldn't do it without you. Visit our Patreon site and join up. If for some reason you're not hearing this, that doesn't make any sense. Ignore that. But we're very happy to have you on board. So look for lots of great content coming your way. Thanks very much.
Excelsior.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.